Thanks everyone for joining us today. Welcome to today's session about gender community of practice. My name is Lena Frisch. I'm one of the development support managers at HubCam Africa, but you won't hear much from me today. I'm just going to go through some housekeeping points before I hand over to our chair, Sarah. Just need to figure out how to. You can rename yourself using the 3 dots. You hopefully know where they are. So please put your name there, and if appropriate, your organization. That would be helpful. Also, please do mute yourself whilst you're not speaking, unless you are speaking maybe later when there's time for questions. Just stay muted, please, to avoid background noise. You can also use the function to raise your hand with the little symbol at the bottom. Hopefully you're aware of that function. And please do make use of the chat to put any questions that will be addressed later after the presentation. This session will be recorded, but only speakers will be on the recording. So yeah, if you are speaking at some point and you do not want to be visible on the recording, just turn off your camera before unmuting. And just to say, at the end of the session, we'll run a quick poll regarding the continuation of these meetings of the gender community of practice. So we welcome your feedback, but completely understand if you don't feel like you're in the position to answer these questions, to fill it in, for example, because you're here for the first time today. Yeah, we understand then. That's not a problem. This is a safe space for minoritized peoples. No form of abuse will be tolerated. We encourage challenging and constructive conversation, but people's lived experiences are not up for debate. And we will be monitoring the chat. If you breach this rule, you will be removed from the event, and we will be contacting you at a later time. If you do have any serious concerns and need to make a safeguarding complaint after the event, you can visit the Welsh Centre for International Affairs, our umbrella organization, online and search for a safeguarding policy. Just really briefly, agenda, we just ticked off the housekeeping, and then we'll come to our presentation in a minute by Teams4U Uganda. And that will be followed by questions and answers. And in the end, I'll do the poll and the wrap up. Yeah, so I'll hand over to Sarah now and stop sharing. Sarah, are you able to share the presentation, or do you want me to?
I can share it, but I don't know if Benson would rather move from screen to screen for himself. I mean, Teams4U. Would you like to move from screen to screen on your own? But I can also share. What would it be preferable, Benson and Joshua? What would you prefer? If you could unmute yourself, please, Benson, that would be splendid.
I don't mind you moving the slides.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Elena, do you want to go ahead, or shall I do it?
Yeah, I don't mind. I can.
Okay. Please do so that I can concentrate on talking. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. My name is Sarah Simons. I'm joining you from Nairobi. I am co-chairing this group with another colleague, but today I'm the one chairing. I'd like to introduce to you Teams4U. Teams4U is an organization, a not-for-profit organization based in Uganda. And because I know part of the introductory slides will include introducing the organization, to save us time, I'll immediately move us to Benson, who will be able to give us an introduction of himself and of the organization. Thank you very much, Benson. Over to you.
Thank you very much. My name is Benson Omoding. I'm the country director of Teams4U Uganda. You're almost welcome to this session of gender development for the girls. Teams4U Uganda is a non-government organization affiliated to Teams4U UK, the charity. About myself, I was born in Kumi. I studied in Kumi. I went to university and so on, and came back to work in Kumi, trying to make a difference in the people we are in the communities I grew up in. Basically, that's the introduction for now. We can move to the next slide. Yes, we started this project basically because of the problems that we encountered by working with the community, especially in the primary schools of Kumi that we have been working in. There was a very high rate of teenage pregnancies in the region. So we developed this program to encourage the girls basically to stay in school, and it's growing up from Kumi, the community there and the environment is not very, very good for the girl child to grow. I have sisters as well that encountered the similar problems. They got pregnant before they completed their school. So we have this passion of giving them a second chance and encouraging them to go back and complete their school and make a difference in their lives. So basically, in this very program last year, we had 3 girls who got pregnant and they were able to sit their primary education because of this program encouraging them. And the girls, during their periods, had a very big problem managing it. You can't believe that even the girls were using leaves during their periods and rags to try to manage their periods, which is very unhealthy and very hygienic for them to do that. So I'm glad because of this program, we reached out to these girls and we delivered them reusable pads that we manufactured in our own facility in Kumi. We are trained by Days for Girls to do this manufacturing. So I'm very thankful for this program because the school absenteeism reduced. So most girls were able to carry on with their education. And also this program helped us so much with clearing the cultural taboos around menstruation. For example, some mothers were unable to go to the garden during that period, especially because of the taboo that if you cross the garden, the yield will become very low. So during the trainings of the community, we try to tell them there's nothing like, I mean, menstruation cannot affect your yield for your crop. So I'm glad we are able to reach that through the program. And we did pass on information to the community about the sexual and reproductive health, basically how to manage their menstrual hygiene and family planning and many others. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Specifically, this program, after the training of the senior men and women teachers, we did form peer empowerment groups around the schools. These were basically run by the senior women and senior teachers that we empowered to deliver sessions to these children, and those children also were able to pass on the information to their peers, and yeah, they were empowered. And we did provide the sanitary pads We did the training of the community, families, and the government. That's the education and the inspectors of schools. There was a discussion with parents, and that's the parent engagement. We did it in the schools, and yeah, basically that. We delivered that sexual menstrual hygiene, STI session, gender-based violence, safeguarding, and understanding their body parts, basically, so that when they have their changes, they understand why certain changes happen in their bodies. For example, why they grow breasts and the voices change, those kind of things. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, those were the outcomes. Outcomes and results of this project. Basically, we were supposed to have done a training of 20 schools, but we ended up having one because people are very interested in these programs we are delivering. So we ended up doing 21 senior women and 21 senior men in 21 schools. And over 50 people from the education department, that's the district education officer, school inspectors, and the community of Byd-eang district, Kumi, and Katakwi. We formed 21 peer clubs in 21 schools. There's a mistake in that slide. And out of that, in each school, we had 80 children that joined those clubs, totaling to 1,680 children that were trained. And we did provide usable pads to all the girls in those peer empowerment clubs. Over 500 parents were engaged in this program in all the 3 districts of Kumi, Katakwi, and Byd-eang. During the baseline, we got results that showed 60% during the midline. So menstruation is sickness. But as we are moving on, they are beginning to realize it is not. So the percentage is dropping down to about 20% now. During the baseline, 60% before they were taught anything were saying menstruation was a sickness, but the 20% now think it is still a sickness. So we are still working on the 20 to make sure they understand that it is not a sickness before the program closes in March. During, 20% more girls say they would use contraception when ready for sex, which is still a bit low. We need to encourage them if they have to engage in sexual activities, they should use contraception, especially maybe condoms. That's the only safest way, and to avoid getting infected. There was a 50% increase in seeing women as having role models outside home. Yeah, the girls are beginning to see doctors and so on as their role models, which is good. The rights of women that are recognized. 60% more respondents recognized to choose to have education and to choose to marry. During this program, we basically told these young girls about their sexual rights, that they can choose to marry or not to marry, and it is their choice not to be forced into getting married. It is their right to stay at school until they are ready for marriage, not to be forced to go for marriage when they're still young. So it's good to see there's an increment in that recognition that is their right. Please, let's move to the next slide. Yes, during this program, we encountered a few issues. Basically, the funding received for this project wasn't adequate to run all the 20 schools. We even got one school that was not part of the program that joined in, so it stretched us a bit financially. But I'm glad Teams4U UK supported this that and try to cover up those costs. Also, in the peer empowerment, biggest challenge we got is everyone wants to be part of this program in the school. And schools are normally about 1,000 or more kids, but unfortunately we only picked 80 kids, so the rest of the kids felt left out. And also we work in a large area in Teso. Some schools, basically, that out of the 21, the schools that were not chosen felt very, very bad and left out because they were not part of this program. So it was one of the issues we got during the program, implementing the program. Otherwise, everything went on very well, and it's good to see the senior women, the school inspectors and parents getting involved in this program. Please, let's move to the next one. Yeah, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Cymru and the Welsh government for supporting Teams4U deliver these projects in Uganda. And the children are very happy and have benefited from this program. It's made a very huge difference to the lives of these children and the community as well, because we have cleared the taboos around menstruation, especially, and gender-based violence, and taught these kids to be aware of the community and be able to safeguard themselves and be able to report any issue they come across to the right people within the community. Thank you all for listening. I welcome any questions from anyone who wants to ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Benson, for a very concise and very interesting presentation. Did you want to play the video now, Elena, or shall we do that at the end?
Yeah, I can play it.
Yes. Participants, thank you very much. Those who have just joined us, we've just had a brilliant presentation by Teams4U, a not-for-profit organization based in Uganda, in the eastern part of Uganda, if I'm correct, Benson.
Oh, yeah, very correct. Yeah.
Yes. And we're just going to see some of the work, the responses, and some of their target group give us some feedback on this brilliant education empowerment of young girls project. You can go ahead, Lena.
Lena, you might need to optimize it for sound because we can't hear anything.
Oh, okay.
If you reshare it, there's two little boxes at the bottom of the share that say optimize clip for sound.
Thank you.
No worries.
Yes, thank you.
I just love your project, Benson. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And that change is also condom use becomes what?
Teams4U have been making a big impact, delivering training to help tackle some of the misconceptions around menstruation and sexual health.
And that change is also affected by hormones.
This session has really made me to be very confident to talk to them about menstruation.
I'm going to use the knowledge to educate these children so that they remain at the school.
Girls begin puberty earlier than the boys.
Training teachers and head teachers, who are responsible for thousands of children in the Cymru district of Uganda, is key to helping them deliver this life-changing information.
I am very grateful for today's education. I've got information on puberty and menstruation, which I'm going to use at school.
I have discovered new knowledge. I have been having challenges, of which challenges have already been addressed today.
The menstruation periods in girls.
Teams4U have trained nearly 200 teachers, working with them to develop lesson plans and equipping them with effective learning resources. Please support Teams4U and help us to continue delivering this life-changing training.
Thank you very much for that brilliant presentation. And we've reached the point where now we welcome any questions from participants. You can either write them in the chat or if your camera is on, raise your hand. Otherwise, use the raised hand function, which you can do by pressing reactions and then picking the raised hand. Any questions? I see one question, one person. Isimbi Sebagani of a Sub-Sahara Advisory Panel. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, my question is based on the outcomes. They mentioned that 500 plus parents were engaged. I'd just like to know in terms of who did they find more engaging, fathers or mothers within the Eastern region? Yeah, that was an interest of mine. And if I can just tag along just another question, you mentioned how there's still an issue in terms of contraception and the engagement with contraception. What are the issues that you're finding with contraception in the Eastern region? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so there we have two questions. I'll take the next question from Steve and Mukwana. So we see if they're on similar topics, we combine them. Steve, please go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I put mine in the chat as well, but I think it's a bit of a similar question. I was really interested, you know, I'm involved with another organization in Uganda doing great work with young people around similar issues, but always interesting in how the parents responded, because it feels like one of these situations where children are taking the lead. You know, they're more open to questioning maybe cultural practices that aren't supportive to them. And so I'm just curious, are the parents going along with it, you know, or is there resistance?
Very good question. And then I'll take the last question. There was a hand raised. I don't know whether your question has been asked. Mukwana, did you want to ask a question, or has your question been asked?
Thank you so much, Omoding. Thank you so much for the presentation. I am just a throwaway stone from where you are, and I live in Mbale. I'm just so much interested in your presentation. My concern is just wanted to share some experience, if you can share some experience with me on how you have been interacting with the men, the parents of the girls, to ensure that are also involved in the project implementation, because they are key partners in that project. And also secondly, I very well understand and know some parts of Kumi and other areas around there that you mentioned, and I believe that some of them can't afford the materials to make those sanitary towels. How have you made it sustainable to see that everyone is involved? After training, these people can make the sanitary towels at their home, basing on vulnerability levels. because these issues cut across the region. Thank you so much once again.
Okay, I'll take one last question and then give Benson the opportunity to respond. Jane, can we have your question, please?
Thank you. May I say what an excellent opportunity this is. I work with PONT, which is based in Mbale, and I'm very familiar with Kumi. My question is this: we have, it's for some advice. We have a conference. I'm traveling out in 3 days, and we have a conference in Mbale where 100 schools will be in attendance. It would be really helpful if some of the good practice from today and some advice could be given directly to us for that. We've worked on relationships with girls in our schools, in our many schools in the Mbale region with PONT. One of the key things seems to be the building of confidence, but obviously the engagement with the wider community. So 2 questions there really. Can anyone support us? Anything I can take to that conference, or indeed welcome someone to join us at that conference? And secondly, how can we engage with the wider community and build the girls' confidence? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane. So for now, we will focus on the questions to do with the presentation, just to give Benson an opportunity while everything is still fresh in our mind. And then the last one, I think, is a networking question. So I'll pull together the questions of Steve and Mukwana, which regard parents. And perhaps those will be the second questions. And then we have 4 questions, of which 2 relate to parental responses and how he interacted with men. Benson, the first question is, there were about 500 plus parents who are engaged. Who did you find more engaging, mothers or fathers?
I would say both, but the majority that came in are the men, basically. They're the ones who attended the sessions more than the ladies. Simply because the men in our region are the ones that are engaged in most of the programs that happen in the schools, in the churches, and yeah, they live sometimes the mothers at home. But we had a good number of the men, and it was very encouraging to see them take on board. And yeah, most of them have regrets for what has happened in their lives, and they wish they were told this earlier on. For instance, issues of family planning. Most of them are struggling with big numbers of kids. They cannot be able to pay school fees, and yet they ignored the advice that they just used to hear, but no one told them exactly that. Please do family planning. They don't know why. Why do you need family planning? So they most of them are regretting. And also there's a session we normally teach them on the roadmap. What should you do first in your life before you get to a certain point? So when you give them that those questions and you put them you change the questions around, and you tell them, please rearrange which one is the correct order you would do to get where you are in your life, where you want to get in your life. So it opens their mind, and the children already have been told this. So I expect to have a better community going forward.
That question relates a bit with the one asked by Mukwana, to share your experience on your interaction with men. So the questions you're saying and the roadmap, was that a question you would pose to the parents?
Yes, exactly.
Part of their training, sorry?
Yes, we give them a one-day session as well. Yeah, it is. We give them an overview of what we are giving the children so that they don't get shocked and see the difference their children are going through. So we give them everything, including the district officials, so that when they are doing those follow-up for us, they are aware of what we have been engaging with each and everyone. And the issues of cooperation you find from the parents. This is my community, and I speak the language. We have been involved for over 15 years. We started by engaging everyone in the community. We do games and sports with these children, and they know Teams4U. Everywhere you pass, they chant and recognize us. So the parents know us. So when the ENA program is being done by Teams4U, they take it on board because of the relationships they have been having with us over the years. So we have had the cooperation from the churches, the politicians, and each and everyone involved.
Thank you very much. Still, while we are talking about the parents wishing they'd known about family planning, if we could look at Isumbi's second question, where she says that in your presentation, you said that there are still some issues with the contraception. Are those issues you feel comfortable to share here?
Yes, there are issues we are dealing with because there are misconceptions, basically. On menstruation, on contraception. Some people say they make you grow fat, they do what basically what we have encouraged them is to go and see the health workers, and every community has like a health center 3, and all those health center 3s, we are working with them very closely because we're having different programs we are doing there with those health centers, and we have had the training of the nurses and the people in those health centers as well on the same program, because that's where the kids run to. So we have encouraged them, if they want more information, they go there, and the program we're running, we have a nurse that works closely with us during the trainings, and she takes those answers, those questions, and she clears the answers there and then. That's how we do it when we're handling those issues, basically. So they do ask, and it is cleared immediately because we have someone technical to answer their questions.
Yeah, so the issue of pregnancy, the issue of contraception is very important. And thank you for the role you took in guiding them into making informed decisions. Maybe you could tell us a bit about how parents have responded to the project's focus to change cultural practices. And here I'm thinking particularly about the sexual and reproductive rights. When you're empowering the girls to stay in school, to exercise the right to say no to early marriage, how have parents responded to this?
Parents are responding to this because we're trying to show them exactly. We have life stories that we do the training. We give like this girl was sent to the market, and she found someone in the market who gave her this. Just a life story that discourages them from engaging into early pregnancies. We really give very tough and very tough stories that someone will feel very deterred from engaging in sexual activities. For instance, you can contract HIV and die at the end of it. You just have to give them all the options open, and we encourage them basically to abstain until they reach to a certain level.
I think that is very important, because as young people, they may not think about it as having such dire consequences like dying. Still talking again about pregnancy, and this one I know was a concern across the board in in our region, even here in Kenya, during lockdown. And Jane is asking, saying exactly that many girls became pregnant during lockdown. Did you experience any positive outcome or negative outcome related to the high pregnancy rate during lockdown? Maybe your project was able to educate them. I know here in Kenya, many girls did not go back to school because they either fell pregnant or got married. So how can we approach this? And as you talk to us about that, I know in one of our neighboring countries, they were sending girls away from school. There was a presidential decree that girls who became pregnant could not be allowed back in school. My question is, did you have to make any amendment? Did the Ministry of Education have to change any law to allow pregnant girls to stay in school?
Let me start with that one. There was a very huge difference from the neighboring districts that we didn't work with during that time, especially Bukedi and Katakwi. Kumi district registered very few girls that got pregnant, especially in the primary school, because of involvement of Teams4U in this, with this program in the schools. And on average, I would say some schools did not register any. And the schools that did register pregnant girls, they could get like 1 or 2. So I got those statistics, but the kids that got pregnant did not exceed over 30 kids from Kumi. I can share that maybe later, because I did work directly with the school inspectors. I was very interested in finding out how many girls got pregnant, because we were involved in those schools. So there was a small number compared to the neighboring district that have not got this program there. Regarding the pregnant girls in Uganda, Uganda encouraged all the girls that got pregnant to go back and finish their schools. Even if you are carrying a baby or you are delivered a day before your exams, you are supposed to go and sit your exams. It was a directive. So in our project, the 20 schools we worked in, the 3 girls that unfortunately got pregnant, we encouraged them and they went back and did their exams in December. And we met them personally. We engaged them personally together with some of the volunteers that came from the UK, and we had a chat with them. And we encouraged them to finish the exams and go back to school after and leave the babies with the moms.
Wonderful. I think that's a wonderful outcome. The fact that you comparatively, you can see that in your catchment area, there were fewer pregnancies than those ones who are in the neighboring districts who are not under the program. And I assume that was during lockdown, yeah?
Yes, exactly. And during lockdown, we tried as much as possible to reach out, especially giving out some materials to those schools. Yeah.
That was very important. I think that is a very positive outcome, because lockdown was not anticipated, but it came at a time you were running the project, and so students were able to use the knowledge from there. Garrett, did you have another question? Steve, sorry.
Well, I think, unless I missed it, Benson, I don't think you addressed, there was a particular part of the question that came up, and the reason I have an interest in this is because actually in our own community here in Wales, in UK, we're sort of sexual health and reproductive education for children is a big issue right now for Welsh government. So this is something that, you know, I'm asking this question from a sort of personal interest as well. How did the parents respond, particularly how did the fathers respond to their daughters being given encouragement to make more choices about their sexual and reproductive health? Were they able to be encouraging, or did they create any resistance? And if they did, how did you respond to that?
Basically, in Uganda, when you talk about sexual and reproductive health education, most people had a very big misconception. They thought our kids are being taught to start playing sex early, including the officials as well. So basically, when we did the trainings, they realized it's not about teaching children to start playing sex. It's about educating them to make the right choices and to be aware of their bodies and try to protect themselves and be ready for when the time comes to engage in sexual activities. So we didn't receive any resistance. And we even got support from some of the Catholic priests we work with on this program, and they were part of the training we did. And yeah, we basically have not encountered the problem regarding the program we have delivered.
Yeah, the fathers were
yes.
okay. They were, yeah. Well,
yes,
that's good to know, because as we all know, changing cultural norms and so on is really difficult. But it does feel like it's best to work.
It's just a misconception that they have. But when you encourage them to attend the session, they understand, and they become very happy. And yeah.
Yeah. I'll just say that.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Steve, I need to cut you short. Just to give Dalit an opportunity to ask the question. Dalit, you can go ahead. I know it's in the chat, but you can also go ahead and ask it. I know your hand was raised.
Oh, thank you very much, Sarah. I'm actually the Barry UK team leader for Days for Girls in Wales. I'm currently the only one, so thank you for giving us a mention there. I just wanted to know whether our partnership in Uganda, in your region, for the social enterprise aspect of making the pads is still continuing.
Yes, so it is continuing because we are still buying the material from there, from your office, and also we did receive visitors to look at our premises that we're manufacturing from. They did visit us. I forget her name. She came. I think she's from the US. They come and visited us. So it's going on. Yeah, the relationship is very good.
So can I clear that up? You were linked to the US branch of Days for Girls rather than the UK branch for Days for Girls?
No, what is happening is there's a Ugandan branch that we were
but you're supported by the US as opposed to the UK?
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, Dalit. Sorry, Dalit. I think that's something you can pick up on a one-to-one.
Oh yeah, sorry. I just needed to know whether I was going to cross over any lines here.
We have a very short time, and I'd like to give people who haven't spoken an opportunity. If anyone else has a question related to the presentation, it's just because we have just 20 minutes for Q&A and we are almost there. Steve, was your question fully answered? The one on parents and cultural practices? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else with a question related to the presentation? We will give you Benson's contact so that anyone who'd like to invite him for an event, any organization wishing to network, anyone wishing to make clarification on any other issue other than the presentation, or if you have a question that comes up as after the presentation, you can pick it up with him. Benson, if no one else has a question, or while others are thinking about it, I had another question. Again, related to the taboos and so on. How were you able to address that? Because we are talking about misconceptions that when you cross the field, this is a farming community. So misconceptions, you mentioned that there's a taboo that if a woman goes farming while she's having her period and she crosses the field, the yield would go down. But there's also the other misconception that menstruation is stress. How did you address this? Did you do it through role plays, or did you just tell them? Because sometimes you're from that community and you know how some of these cultural practices and misconceptions are really part of our way of thinking as Africans. How were you able to address them? Did you use role?
Yes. We basically did some survey before. We picked out through the taboos they had, and we put them in a questionnaire as well, especially for when we're doing the senior teachers and educators. We put those taboos in the questionnaire, and we hand over before we do the sessions. So yeah, and they answer.
Okay.
And it's interesting to note that some of the teachers believed in them. So you can imagine what the children were told by these teachers. So basically, before we start anything, we do that pre-test with them. We give them that, and after they have answered that, we check, and then during the session, we keep referring to that and clearing them with them and clearing them until they begin to understand. And then at the end of the session, the training, like the 2-day training or 1 day, we give them the post, which has almost similar things asked in a different way, and you get good feedback. They have anyway understood it's not true what they were believing. So basically, that's how we handle it. Yeah.
Okay.
For example, even some people believe that you menstruate through your hands.
Oh, that's a new one. Okay.
We shall share with you more. So we try to clear that. So basically, that's how we deal with that.
Thank you very much. And again, of course, social norms take time to change, but I'm glad that you're able to plant that seed of truth in their minds, something they can refer to. In your presentation towards the end, you also mentioned that there are other schools also. You are not able to reach everyone, so there is a greater need for a project like yours. Do you want to pitch something here now with regards to where you're heading as a project?
Yes, there have been very many big challenges going through in the schools. For instance, these girls have not been having, during their periods, menstrual periods, they go to teachers' houses to change and maybe clean up, which is not very healthy and good, because they can end up getting a problem there, because you can go to a man teacher's house and then you end up getting problems there. So basically, we have designed the changing rooms and we have piloted about 12 of them in this. In the 10 schools, out of the 21, in the 10 schools we're working, we're putting a new changing rooms, and the girls are able to wash up and get changed privately in those changing rooms in those schools. So it's a big plus that we have in the region, basically. I'm not sure it's there in Mbale as well, because I can see there are some people from Mbale here.
Yes,
so,
I see Jane has also said that girls wanted access to toilets in schools when you did your survey. Jane, did you want to share something about your survey? We need to finish in 1 minute, but if you have anything new to add, because you seem to be saying the same thing Benson did. Was that an observation in Mbale, Jane? So Jane stated in the chat that when girls wanted access to toilets in school when they did their survey. And I'm glad that you've prepared cleaning rooms for them where they can go to change instead of going to the teachers' houses. So we have another one.
That's the other.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm seeing a question from Steve. Yes, out of those, we have a program and we involve the boys as well, not only the girls. And what he has just mentioned about the respect, and that's what we stress in our programs always. And it's starting to yield some good impact, because the boys used to laugh at the girls when they see the blood. So we did ask girls if it's still happening. They said the boys are being supportive now. So we are involving the boys. We're not leaving them behind.
And I think that is always a very important thing. Now, Jane and Isimbi, I see your hands up. Could you put your question in the chat, because we need to run a poll now on the continuation of the group. This is clearly a very interesting discussion, a discussion that needs to be had. And I'm glad to see that we have colleagues with projects in Mbale, colleagues with knowledge about the area, people already involved in girls' education or education in general. And I think it's very important that the discussion continue. What we did now was just to start a conversation about young girls, their menstrual hygiene, and how to keep girls during their periods, and girls who have fallen pregnant. And my hope is that when we share with you this presentation, the PowerPoint, you'll be able to take Benson's contacts and you'll be able to contact him, because another purpose of this gender community of practice is to encourage networking. As you can see on this screen, peer learning, we've learned from Benson, you know, how you've met some problems and solved them. And then again, the networking should continue, and we hope that it will continue. Or offline, you can contact Benson directly. We will post to you Benson Benson slide so that you can be able to contact him directly. Benson, we take this opportunity to thank you very much for stimulating our interest in the topic, and that you are doing such a great job. You're doing much with little, but also you've also shown, you put in the hands of the students something that they can use. If I can hand over to Lena now to carry out the poll. Lena, over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, sorry, I just started everything already, and you helped me with some of the referring to some of the points on the slide. I just wanted to give some context. Yeah, and I hope that, I mean, I understand if people have to leave, but this is just an opportunity for us to collect some feedback from you around the future of the community, the gender community of practice. So, and the slides to give some context that it was created about a year ago to give space, basically create space for peer learning and mutual support. And yeah, lots of benefits potentially, and that we have met regularly, bi-monthly throughout the year, and the idea though is for the groups to become self-sustaining in the longer term. So we really, sorry, I think people are not unmuted. Do you mind muting yourself if you're not speaking? Yes. So it very much depends on individuals' preferences and interests, whether and how these group meetings can continue. So this is what we're doing the poll for. And yeah, if you do feel like you're in a position to answer them, then we do appreciate your feedback. I'll give you another minute. I've started it already. Sorry, I hope that was okay. I think we had some responses already.
Can I point out, sorry, Chair, very quick, I know you've got to go. We have a remarkable lady called Phoebe over, and I wonder if somebody from the Wales for Africa team could contact me after this call so I could fill them in. She's from Gulu. Thank you.
I'm sure we can talk about this after.
Do we have all the responses in, Lena?
We've had a few, so I might end it there because I am, oh, nope, still coming in, sorry. I'll wait another 30 seconds maybe. I do understand it's 6 questions, so you have to read through them first. Yeah. Okay, I'll end it there. And we'll quickly share them. If I'm able to. Okay, so most people are interested for the meetings to continue, and mostly also with Zoom meetings or a combination with online platforms. Okay, yeah, fairly frequent still, bi-monthly or quarterly. And then, yeah, this is a bit more complicated about how, yeah, what kind of support people wish from Hub Cymru Africa. So that's very diverse, which is as expected a little bit. And we do have some interest in co-chairing the group. That's great to see. Great, and we'll be happy to contact you also about these responses. Thanks very much for participating. We will consider these outcomes and get some more feedback from regular attendees that are not here today, and then come back at the next meeting with recommendations. And yeah, those were the results. The next meeting will be on the 28th of March. At 12:30 GMT. That's the last Tuesday of the month, which has been our meeting schedule. Yeah, so perhaps we'll see you there. Otherwise, thanks very much again to Ben for the brilliant presentation and answering all those questions. And yeah, it's really good to see that there's so much interest and yeah, appetite to discuss and to network really. So yeah, and also thanks to Sarah for chairing. And apologies for the late end of the meeting, but yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I wish you all a very good day.
From me as well. Have a good rest of your day. We'll close.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Lena.